Book 1, Law of Salimi Chapter 12. A thin line between confidence and vanity. I assumed that new students would probably be talking about me during the ragging activities, which I was not participating. In doing so, I once again became famous and rose as the most sought after new student targeted by the senior students. Apparently, new students were expected to show absolute obedience and unparalleled respect to senior students. They expect that all new students must respect them because they can torture and cause harm to the new students. I did not agree because I felt that respect must be earned and cannot be obtained through force or threat. Sadly, it seemed that no one amongst the students shared this notion. Soon, the war between almost every seniors against me finally began. As senior students were no longer allowed to perform any ragging activities, many began to launch psychological attacks against me. Honestly, I don't really like psychological warfare against most of senior students at ITM campus Mangatal, but it was much better than being a victim of ragging. Fortunately for me, mentally speaking, my mind's fortitude and resilience was rather well developed from surviving against bullies in primary and secondary school. Basically, I had about 9 years of experience to train and strengthen my mind. Thus, I welcome the psychological warfare from senior students. I would never surrender since I love problem solving. During the semester, I received numerous attempts to break my will and lifestyle from senior students. Any mistake that I made was taken as me being disrespectful to them and be made to pay for them. I had to admit that in the beginning, several attempts were successful to damage my honor based on their perception, but it was trivial. I do realize that I cannot win every single battle, but in the end, I felt that I had won the war. When I made a mistake, senior students tend to exact their revenge by exaggerating the mistakes and tried to humiliate me by excessive scolding in front of other senior students. To them, those battles were won by them, which made them feeling superior and satisfied with their success at attacking me. I do not mind such trivial things. In fact, I reckon that my classmates and new students would probably respect me more for being fearless in facing those scary senior students. I do not intentionally sought for fame or popularity, but I was simply upholding my belief. I believe that I would always fight against anyone regardless of their size, status, power, or for whatsoever reason if I fought for the right reason, such as upholding justice and implementing Islam as a way of life. When I chose to walk the path of understanding Islam, it was abundantly clear to me that such path was never meant to be easy or without any challenges. To me, senior students who hated me for being myself and following the teachings of Islam was simply a challenge that I must overcome in walking the path of understanding Islam. During the psychological warfare, many had claimed that I was full of shit and arrogant. They claimed that I was a narcissistic person who was better than everyone else. What I could say for myself was I was simply a confident person. I knew of my ability that I never intend to offend anyone. I was and still am walking the difficult path of pursuing knowledge and understanding Islam in my life, which means that there would be many people surrounding me who might never be able to understood that. I was confident that I was doing the right thing in my life. There is a thin line between confidence and vanity. For those who never knew me, I would always be presumed to be arrogant. On the other hand, anyone who knew me would claim that I was simply confident and misunderstood. During my lifetime, many people who had met me always said that I looked and appeared to be an arrogant person, probably due to my looks and the fact that I rarely smile to strangers. After getting to know me, most would agree that I could not stop talking and simply don't know how to shut up. In reality, as I had explained in earlier chapter, I had a constant flow of ideas and theoretical analysis occurring every second that I am awake in my head. In order to stay sane, those ideas must be channeled out through writing and speaking, which could be rather compulsive in nature. If I kept quiet or in silent, which means not speaking or writing, I need to do something to keep my head preoccupied by doing puzzles, problem solvings, analysis, and so forth. Honestly, the compulsive nature that forced me to do such things are beyond my absolute control. I could manage to control my impulse to a certain degree, but I never managed to achieve 100% of my mind. In fact, if I had nothing to do, I need to the very least listen to music. In a worst case scenario where I don't have even music available, I speak to myself by asking possible questions that others might ask about me and would provide several answers which varies every time I ask the same question. For example, I visualized that I would go to an interview and the interviewer would ask me a specific question. I would answer the same question as many times as possible in my head. The reason that I need music if I'm not doing anything was to avoid myself from listening to my surrounding and began analyzing and theorizing, which can be tiring. In fact, I believe that since the past several years, my analysis of my surroundings started to be an automatic feature in my head. It is painfully annoying, but I cannot control or switch off the process in my mind. To avoid doing so, I listen to songs, which must be in languages that I could not comprehend, or else I would begin analyzing on every song that I hear. Why these things are kept occurring in my head? I had stopped asking the question a long time ago and rather simply accept it as my natural talent or a curse. In a way, I would always have my mind preoccupied with analysis which made me appear to be daydreaming or rather not aware of people surrounding me that I might knew but did not smile at. In all honesty, this is an absolute truth as to why I don't always smile at my friends. It is not an excuse. It is not because I was an arrogant person. Still don't believe me? Here's a challenge for you, the reader. If you ever met me in the real life, try talking to me. As soon as I began talking, you would probably erase the notion that I was in vanity and would probably curse yourself when you cannot stop me from talking. For now, I hope you had taken my word and I'm telling the truth. Let us continue with the story where we left it. Despite being accused of being an arrogant fool by many of the senior students, I was also facing constant glaring from almost everyone. It might be because of jealousy, hatred, trying to put a curse on me, or many other negative reasons. A part of that, I would assume that it might be possible that about half of those stare and glare towards me were filled with curiosity, bedazzled, and confusion as to how come so many people hated me. Out of that, maybe a very small amount of those glare contained admiration and infatuation. I did receive several cards and notes which came from an unknown secret admirer. Notwithstanding, It might also be possible that those notes came from my friends or enemies making pranks towards me. Since I never found out who those admirers were, I never really gave a thought over them or looks any sleepless night pondering about it. Let me share with you my secret to deflect all of those hatred glares. Just ignore them. It doesn't hurt me physically, so I don't care. I was too preoccupied with many things apart of focusing on my studies. I was ignoring the aura of hatred and glaring. In addition, I began implementing Islam as a way of life, which encouraged me to turn my sight away from sinful things. At ITM campus Magata, I was shocked to discover that there were a lot of beautiful female students. To avoid from falling for them, which was very easy for me, I decided to look away from them. Since they were everywhere, my only option was to lower my gaze to the ground. Hence, most of the time walking was spent looking on the ground. This decision helped me to avoid the hatred gaze and glare from senior students, as well as safeguard my sight from gorgeous students around me. I rarely had my sight looking up, except when talking to another person face to face or in class when a lecturer was teaching. This choice further caused confusion upon others who tried to understand my weird behavior. Even my classmates, who never talked to me, felt that I was an odd human being, or even possibly an alien life form that appeared to look like human. All in all, I had managed to overcome the psychological warfare from my seniors without much difficulty during my first year as new students. As time goes on, the number of seniors reduces, which means my problem also lessens. As time lapsed, more and more began to get to know me and realized that I was not arrogant. I was just someone who might be socially retarded or socially challenged. I was just a person who cannot shut up when I start talking. I was just another student who wishes nothing more in life but simply seeking for my own peace. The end. Okay, that ends the chapter 12 of my book. Thank you very much for listening and hope to hear you again in the next book. In the next chapter.